Have you considered investing in real estate, but you just don't know where to get started? In this first of a three-part series on real estate investing, getting started, I'm going to share with you three concepts of starting when you don't have any money and you have very little experience. So stay tuned. Have you everything you're looking for? It's all in you. Hello, Freedom Nation. It's Jeff here once again. And today we are going to talk about one of my favorite topics to talk about is real estate. We're going to talk about it for those of you that are maybe new to real estate and you're trying to figure out where you fit into that mix. We'll talk about it with those of you that maybe have been around for a while. You've been investing, you've maybe saved a little bit of money, and you want to figure out how you can best get into real estate with having a little bit of money to work with. And last but not least, we're going to focus on those of you that maybe have saved a lot of money and you're wanting to get into real estate and you've got more money that you can put away and get involved. There's three different kind of stages to this. Now, for those of you that are watching us on YouTube, these will be broken into three separate shows. So make sure you go and check that. For those of you that are listening on podcast, we're going to go through all three at one time. So let's go ahead and get started. The first option, if you are just getting started and you really don't have a whole lot of money to get started, or you're not really willing to take whatever savings you have and get started in real estate, there are still ways for you to start as a real estate investor. Probably one of the easiest of those is to do what's called house hacking. What is house hacking? House hacking is just simply this. You go out and buy a house. You may buy a house a little bit bigger than what you need personally, and then you rent out a room in your house. In a lot of instances, if you can rent enough of that house out, that person is probably the rent on that room or side of the house may be enough to actually cover your mortgage on there. Now, one of the greatest parts about this is, once again, I said you can start with low or no money. If you decide to do house hacking and you're buying a house, you can use the FHA, Federal Housing Authority loans, which typically allow you to get in for as little as 3.5%. So even with the inflated real estate prices in the country right now, and of course with higher interest rates, you can get in with very little money to start and then have someone else carry the burden mostly of your mortgage by paying you rent. This has been a strategy that's been used by people all over the world. I would say this is another strategy that could also be used as a short-term rental. Let's say you have a side of your house that kind of is almost a little bit separate. You could easily rent out that room, rent out a suite on that side of the house, and use it as a short-term rental, especially if you're in an area where lots of people want to come to town. I'll give you an example. I live in Austin. Austin has events throughout the year like South by Southwest, the F1 weeks, we have NASCAR coming to town. So there is always somebody coming through here, and a short-term rental strategy works pretty well in this market. The other side of the coin is you could also use this as a midterm rental. This is a concept that we'll talk about in a little bit later as well. But midterm rentals, one of the strategies we use is to do midterm rentals with traveling nurses. That most often they work on 13-week contracts. So it's a midterm rental. You're going to have them in for roughly 3 months at a time. So you're not constantly burning through people. They're wonderful tenants. They don't really complain. All they want is a quiet place to come that's safe. And most of the time they're working, so they don't have much time to do anything else. So they're happy to just come in, be great tenants, and leave. So it's a wonderful strategy. They also get paid really well, and they get paid a stipend to stay. So they also pay their rent, which is wonderful. Option 2 is wholesaling. Now, this is something that in my case, we came to a little bit later in the game. We had done more traditional rentals and flips prior to after I got to my freedom day and had more time to focus on real estate. I started to do a lot of research into it, came across a really good resource for learning about wholesaling. I will include that in the link. It's a gentleman named, it's a group called All In. They specialize in wholesaling and they also do some training around wholesaling. And I learned everything I could about this because when I was in the process of transitioning and selling my business, I was waiting on that money to come in. I really wanted to get involved in real estate more. So wholesaling really worked well for me because wholesaling, you're not really putting up any money. Now, you may put up some money for advertising to draw in the leads, but as far as the actual transaction that happens, you actually are not involved in the transaction beyond the fact that you are putting the property under contract with the ability to assign that to someone else. And then you're matching that deal up with the end buyer, who's typically a real estate investor looking to get into a property, hopefully low enough that they can make rentals make sense in that case, or fix and flip the property and get it to that point. You're that middleman in the transaction, and you receive what's called a finder's fee. Depends on the size of the property, depends on the size of the deal, how much you make there. But, I typically try and target $10,000 minimum in those deals. It might mean that I'm only involved in that transaction from putting it under contract to assigning it for the cash buyer who's going to come in and buy it. I might only hold that for 10 to 20 days maximum in that process while I'm looking for to get the deal done. Typically these go to cash buyers who are real estate investors. So the transactions close pretty quickly. The last idea that I would say in this no or low money down world is real estate partnerships. Real estate partnerships are wonderful. A lot of times you will run across people who have money. They don't really want to do all the work that it takes to find. So doctors, lawyers, professionals, business owners who have money, they invest in real estate. They enjoy investing in real estate. It's just they might not have the time or the inclination to go out and hustle and find that property. So this is a situation where you can go out. What I would do is start networking in groups of realtors, do a Google search in your home area, see if you can find some real estate clubs, real estate organizations. Another wonderful resource and one of my favorites to go to is biggerpockets.com, www.biggerpockets.com. They have a fantastic website where you can put your own profile up there. There's different groups. You can join into groups that are local to your area, network with other real estate investors, learn from them, ask questions of the group. There's trainings that are available on there. It's just a multitude of things that are available on Bigger Pockets. But the best part about it is the real estate, working with other real estate investors and getting to know other real estate investors. This is a great opportunity that if you go out and you start to find a property and you don't have a huge down payment, those relationships that you've made, you can easily then come back. You put the property under contract. That might cost you $1,000 for the option. You basically put a little bit of a phrase into that contract that says, this is contingent upon the approval of my business partner and an inspection of the property. That gives you an out if you can't find someone to work with. But then you start working your network in Bigger Pockets or the local real estate groups, whatever it takes for you to get involved. Most of the times when I do a partnership deal with someone, I do most of the upfront work in that partnership. So I'm going to do finding the property. I'm going to probably manage the property or work with a property manager. My partner is going to put the money up. In those cases, they're not going to have any active participation in the property or the deal, a lot of times they provide the credit as well, so that I don't tie up all my credit on a certain number of properties. Doing this is infinitely scalable. And then how we divide out the profits is my partners always get back first. Let's say when we sell the property, they get back their investment first off, first and foremost, that comes out. Whatever's left, which is the profit, we typically split 50-50. And you will find people all day long that will do deals like this. You just need to start getting out there and networking and finding those folks. So that's the three main ways that you would invest, or that you could do real estate if you don't have a whole lot of money to start with. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed the information about real estate investing. If you've missed any of the episodes that we've done so far, or you want to go back and watch them, just go down to the playlist, the Freedom Engines playlist on our YouTube channel, and all of them are there.